Hi, Heather.
Hi, Krista.
Um, oh man, we've been talking about so many good things all day today. You and I have been on calls off and on all day today.
Yeah.
Um, so it's hard for me to sort of focus my brain on one thing that we wanted to get into a little bit today in our little coffee break series here. But one of the things that I know we've talked about this before in the past, but I think it's worth exploring again, is just that resistance that people often feel in naming themselves a leader. And I think maybe part of the reason some people resist that is because there's a particular vulnerability in putting yourself out there and leading things and speaking your truth and, trying to encourage people to move along a new path. And just maybe as a bit of a hilarious modern anecdote, has been your recent experience posting some opinions on
Yeah.
the internets and getting the usual, I guess they're usual now, trolling comments of people trying to put you in your place and
Yeah.
how that's sort of gone. And um, I know I made a snide comment in response to one of them, and your daughters have really stepped in and
Yeah.
sort
My
of put
daughters
some
are,
people in their places. But
are doing the work on my
yeah,
behalf.
totally.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a particular vulnerability to put yourself out
Yeah.
there. And I know it's part of the reason why I personally have resisted like
Yeah.
putting myself out there a lot of times because I see how it goes for you often. And I'm like, maybe not.
Yeah. I think part of this is also related to something that you and I, the one of our soapbox things is how we isolate leaders,
Yeah,
and
100%.
how we, when you build leadership models that are built on a dominance triangle, like a hierarchy triangle,
Yeah.
the higher you get up in the leadership, the more you are, more lonely you are, the more you're exposed and to attack and to whatever, people pulling you down and stuff. And so I think we all have that consciousness in our minds, like if I step beyond the, like this is where the like the general public is, if I step
Yeah.
a little higher in that hierarchy of dominance and leadership, then I'm more open to attack, and people will hurt me more, and I'm
Yeah.
vulnerable, I'm expected to know more. People are going to project shit on me, and none of that is untrue, because it is very much true. In my experience of being in leadership is that it does, you elevate your risk the higher you
Yeah.
get in leadership in terms of attack, and as you were saying, the people that are responding, and by and large positive responses, but I've been
Yes.
sharing some opinion
Yes.
particularly related to patriarchy, and in more specific terms about how the U.S. men's hockey team was laughing about Trump's misogynistic comments in the locker room, and of course the trolls are showing up and wanting to shut me down, and some of them are completely just calling me names, and some of them are like, nobody cares about your opinion, and et cetera, et cetera. And that is the kind of thing that you get. Like, it's
Hmm.
just, especially in this era of social media, this is sort of just par for the course. You're
Yeah.
going to express an opinion, and if it's public enough people read it, the higher your numbers get, the more you risk being seen by those that are insistent that their opinion is worth more than yours. That's the irony of it,
So
because these
weird.
people drop comments, and I had to respond to one today on YouTube where he said nobody cares about your opinion, my response was, so let me get this straight. Your opinion is so valuable, you have to drop it in the comments of a random person, and mine doesn't even have enough value that I can share it on my own page. Like
Yeah.
the the anyway, we're not going to try to analyze the mind of a troll.
No.
But it does put you in that position of risk, and that's
Yeah.
where I get it. And every time we run anything that has the word leader in it, because we've toyed with this over the years and done things that are a little bit more leadership focused, and we get the
Hmm.
same responses over and over and over again. I don't really see myself as a leader, or I'm not ready to be a leader, or people almost want us to prop them up a little bit, or help them see their own value so that they're ready for something that's a leadership program. That word
Right.
itself tends to scare people away, and we've had that experience many times. And I get that, because I remember too when
Mhm.
I became a leader. I'm sure same for you. You become a leader, it brings up a lot of your insecurities, because I'm not ready to,
Absolutely.
like, I don't even know myself well enough to be able to lead other people, to say anything that's of value to other people. And so I understand that insecurity, and I also, there's part of me is, I will sometimes get a little impatient with it, because I say we don't have time for that kind of insecurity either. Because the
Nope.
fact of the matter is, the world is a bit of a mess right now. There's a lot of chaos in the world. And if we don't show up, who will? And if we
Yeah.
don't show up to do the things that are needed to be done because we're too insecure about ourselves, or we're afraid of the attack, who's going to get that stuff done? Who's going to
Hmm.
show up for it? Somebody that has even less skills than you is going to step into leadership, and then we're going to have we're going to end up with mediocre, potentially toxic, probably misogynistic leaders, because they have the confidence for it that we don't have. And it's not going to change anything. We're going to be stuck with those old patriarchal leadership models, because we don't step into that. So
Absolutely.
I have so many thoughts about this. Partly I also want to encourage people to recognize that it's built into the system to keep you insecure.
You
Like,
betcha.
when you look at the system, it's intentionally, anybody in dominant positions is going to keep the people beneath them in a more insecure, like, position, because that's how you maintain dominance.
That's
And
right.
so patriarchal systems are going to keep people insecure, because you keep them in line. And
Yeah.
so if we're going to disrupt a system, we have to start with believing in ourselves. We have to start with finding our own courage and confidence, and step out there and say something. Even if it's just, it doesn't have to be, not all of us are going to be social media influencers,
No.
or leaders with a lot of responsibilities, but sometimes it's just showing up for what's needed in your neighborhood. It's just like getting your neighbors together to respond to something that where children are getting hurt, or something like that, and
Yeah.
creating like a support group for something in the neighborhood. You and I just shared recently about something going on in Minneapolis, where they were kind of creating a leaderless network of people
Mm.
to respond to what was going on with ICE. There were nobody stepping into positions of hierarchical leadership, but they created this interesting network of people that would, create little cells of response around whatever was going on. And that's
Yeah.
leadership. And that's what we're trying to talk
Yes.
about, is like, every one of those people contributing is a leader and showing up, and the kind of leadership we're talking about.
Yeah. Well, it's very much that hierarchy that you teach about in our program, that, like, there's a need that arises, and one person is sort of like, okay, well, I'll look after this, and they go look after that need, and then they sort of get absorbed back into the collective, right? So
Yeah.
it's not about becoming the leader, it is about leading in that situation. And I think, and we've talked about this before, where there is this, as much as we have a scarcity mindset when it comes to resources and money and stuff like that, we also very much have a scarcity mindset when it comes to power. And so we create these hierarchies so that we can hoard power and resources at the top, because we don't think there's enough to go around. And it's not true. Like, it's not
Mm.
true.
Yeah. Yeah.
As long as we all are still, you know, individual human beings, we all have our own autonomy, regardless of our circumstances, just within our own minds, right?
Yeah.
And as soon as, and part of the thing that I think stresses me out the most about things like AI is that it is trying to colonize that last free space that we have in our mind, right? Like, it is trying to take that over and eliminate it, so that we no
Yeah.
longer even have autonomy in our own minds anymore, in our own creativity. And I think we need to protect that fiercely,
Yeah.
because it deprives the whole of your unique gifts and those places that you can lead and contribute in
Yeah.
meaningful ways.
Yeah, and not surprisingly, yeah, I always go back to the systems that function in nature, and it's like no, there's no creature in nature that's not doing their part because they're too
That's right.
insecure to do their part. And I think too, I was the other day walking in the woods and I was thinking about this very issue, and I was thinking, if let's say that there's a car accident and a car is crushing a person, there's a body lying under a car and the car needs to be lifted, and there's a
Yeah.
dozen people around and 11 people don't contribute because, oh, I'm not strong enough to make a contribution because I'm I don't and only one person is trying to lift that car. It's like,
Yeah.
what is it in the other 11 people that think I don't have enough to contribute to this particular need? And I think
Hmm.
just stepping up and saying, you know what, I'm pretty weak and I'm old and I'm young or I'm in whatever,
Whatever.
but I'm adding a little bit of strength to that car lifting up. And if all 12 of us add a little bit of strength, it's going to be far superior to that one person trying to lift the car off the person. And so
100%.
that's what we're asking people to do. It's like, you don't need to be a bodybuilder. You don't
No.
need to be, and we're so far removed from wanting any kind of perfectionism in this. We want you to
Yes.
just recognize that your little bit of strength in showing up and helping the lift is you stepping into some form of leadership. So what do
Yeah.
we all do to take on that role, whatever that looks like? And it is
Yeah.
so vast in how it can show up. Like, you can be a
Absolutely.
gardener and be a leader in gardening. You can be a
Yes.
janitor and be a leader in how you clean the meeting spaces, for example. Or there's
100%.
no end of ways that you can show leadership. And so that's what we're trying to appeal to with people. It's like, every one of us needs to step up, and in the circle way we talk about a leader in every chair,
Yes.
and make some kind of contribution so that we can shift the paradigm, we can shift the story, we can tell new stories about how we can be human together.
Yes. Yeah. And again, we're inviting leadership within a collective. We are not inviting individualistic leadership, right? Which is, I think,
No.
what people balk at, right? Like being
Yes.
exposed alone. But that's not our paradigm at all.
No,
And I
and
keep go ahead.
well, I was just going to say, I mean, just case in point, I get attacked on social media. You jump in to defend me as my business partner. Two of my daughters jump in to defend me as my
Yeah.
beloved family members. I'm like, oh, I'm not alone out here. Like,
No.
this is not what we're talking about. I'm not an isolated social media influencer. I have built a community, and there's others too that respond as well. But I'm like, I've built a community of support, so I don't need to be this hero that's trying to do something alone. I'm always surrounded, and that's the way we build our leadership models.
Yes. And you don't have people aren't jumping in as your sycophants either. They're not jumping
No,
in because
yeah,
you are a guru, right?
no,
Like your daughters,
exactly,
especially, I know for a fact, will call you out on all sorts of stuff. And
absolutely,
I have gently nudged you here or there,
yeah,
and you have done
yeah,
the same for me.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's not a pseudo community. It's not a false community. It's a
right,
genuine community. It's coming from genuine care, that we are caring about you as a whole person, which means also being able to love you enough to tell you when it's not right, right? Like if you
yeah.
had gone online and spouted something else, we might have been like, Heather.
Yeah. And believe me, my kids have done that. It's like,
I'm
Mom,
sure
you,
they have.
you might be a little bit tone deaf on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I don't know. It excites me to think that that could be possible, and I keep thinking
yeah,
about that quote, we are not free until we are all free. And
yeah,
I just like it's that we part that I think we need to really start hanging on to. Because so much of the discourse is about individual freedom
yeah,
when we should be thinking about collective freedom.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so join our course. We're gonna change the world. We're gonna fix it all. No, I'm kidding.
Well, at least, infiltrate some ideas to we'll fix little pockets, or we'll
That's right.
change, not
That's right.
fix. It's not the right word. That's too
No, not
absolute.
fix.
we're influencing spaces and hoping
That's
that
right.
we can create meaningful change.
We are attempting to lean into being a good mycelium for the world.
Yeah,
Let's
exactly.
undergird things in a
Yeah,
way
yeah,
so that when the collapse happens, that we can do something with the rot
yeah,
after the fact.
yeah, yeah. And even before the collapse happened, all the way through, and
You betcha.
that's what we're talking about in leadership. Is like, can you show up for all steps of the transformation
Yeah.
process and make sure you're well resourced for all of what needs to happen in the next however many years as we do our best to
Yep.
transform and show up better.
Yeah. Yeah. And how do we do our best now? And how do we, I know you talk a lot about leaning into being an elder and, what does that look like helping the next generation and giving them a
Yeah.
good footing as well. So yeah, we want all of the people because
Yeah.
we can't do this alone.
No.
And we shouldn't. So
Yeah.
we won't. Check out our website for more information. First module starts next week. We're very
Next week.
excited.
Yeah.
We're gonna dig into liminality, what that means, how to exist in it without having constant panic attacks,
Yeah.
something like that. Anyway, that's how my brain always interprets it. Anyway,
Yeah.
um, so yeah. All right, okay. Till next time. Find us on our website. Check out the rest of our videos, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, and just one other thing before you stop the video is
Yeah,
one of
yeah.
the other things we're doing right now is talking to organizations that might want to embed
Mhm.
this work into their organization. So if you're looking for a keynote address or a workshop for your people, you want to help develop the leadership skills in your organization, please reach out to us about that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We look forward to speaking with lots more folks about that.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Till next time.